Alright, so today we're going to talk about collisions and how to make them look a little bit more realistic in our programs. So when I'm talking about a collision, I'm talking about any situation where I want to have one object move to another object. And right now when we do this, they actually are going to end up taking up the same physical space in my world. And I'll show you what that looks like in an example here. So here I've got an Eskimo girl and a boy, and I'm going to tell the Eskimo girl to move the distance to the boy. When I do that, she moves that distance and ends up in the exact same space. Now, we know that that looks a little bit unrealistic. Instead, what should happen is when she moves to him, she should move right up so that she's touching him, but not in the exact same space. So how do we do this? In order to do it, we're going to use the distance to function and the depth function. We've already looked at the distance to function, and what that basically does is moves one object all the way up so their center points are equal to another object. So the two objects will be exactly the same spot. In order to make sure that they're not in the exact same spot, I'm going to subtract half of the depth of each one of the objects. So when I'm moving forward, I'm not moving so the center's in the same spot, instead I'm moving so the front parts are at the same spot. Let's see what I mean by this. If I look at an object, I can see here this distance is the depth. So if I move this distance to this distance, it's going to move the green spot to the green spot, and it'll take up the exact same location. But if I subtract out half of my depth and half of my depth, then they're going to end up facing each other. Let's see what this looks like. So instead of moving the entire distance to the boy, I'm going to move the distance to the boy, and do some math here, minus the girl's depth divided by 2. And do that plus the boy's depth divided by 2. So now when I run this code, they move right up to each other so that they're touching, but they're not actually taking up the same place. That's it. That's how you deal with collisions and making them move up to each other without taking up the same space. We'll see you tomorrow when we'll take a look how to do this in class.